Some other banks offer you a promotional savings rate, then they drop it just a few months later. Don't fall for it. Open an account with Capital One and get one of the nation's best savings rates that's not a promotional rate. Plus, you can open an account online in just 5 minutes. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Copyright 2017 Capital One.
Welcome. I am Dr. Renee Sunday. I am your favorite Southern girl. You are listening to Good Deeds Radio. Oh, we're so excited to be here. First of all, we want to just thank you for your continued support. You always support us in regards of downloading our podcast and iTunes review, looking at us and viewing us on YouTube and on social media and our websites. And we just thank you for that, because we love you here at Good Deeds Media Network and all the things we have been entrusted with, the radio, TV, magazine, publishing, all those things. We just thank you. And I love being your host. I'm affectionately known as the platform builder and your favorite Southern girl. The thing is, I want you to know is I'm a servant. I love helping people smile and for them to actually walk out their destiny in life. But, let's get to the question, because, I just love our amazing guests that we have. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't stay still. But the question for Dr. Renee for this segment, the question was, and my team, they always send me a question that I'm always authentic. That's just me naturally. But the thing about it always aligns itself, and that's from our Heavenly Father, always does it. The question someone asked me is, Dr. Sunday, when we listen to your story, it seems like, and that I'm just, how they presented the question, that there was always a divine appointment. There was always a divine presence over your life. And they say that you're in ministry, you're in all the things that you do, but how do you like that? You go from one title to the next. But you know what? I just like the question that, the way I answered the question to the young man, I said, first of all, just like I just said, I'm a servant. So regardless of what I do, if I have the teacher hat on, if I have the ministry hat, if I have the publishing, the media personality, the Southern Belle, whatever, the thing about it is, and just like you as well, you have to be a servant. You have to be authentic, compassionate, but you have to always make sure you give credit where credit is due. And I know that God is the only way that I am where I am right now. Okay, I have to always put that out there, because that's true. And the thing about it is, the next thing, I respect people. I try, my goal in life is to meet people where they are, because everybody, and this may be an ouch for somebody, everybody does not have the right motive. A lot of people's motives are not right. You see what I'm saying? But you have to still show love in everything you do and say, because you know what? God always has a plan, and his plan is always good. So no matter what people try to put in your way, he always have a way of escape. He always have the plan, and I always remember it's a great plan with abundance, joy, and laughter, the fruit of the Spirit, right? So, of course, we had a longer conversation than that, but I just want to give y'all that a little bit too big, because you can't worry about what other people say. You can't be concerned about what people say. And I hate to say, there's one good friend of mine that's a prophet. She actually said, and I laugh about it because she said it on social media, that a lot of things that you see on social media is a lie. And I'm like, oh, my God, that's what she said. But the thing about it is, what she was really trying to tell you is, you have to make sure you assert your own purpose and your own goals in life. A lot of people do things, and that's how they just want to get acclamations. They want to get the praise from people. But the key is, give praise to God. You want praise from God. You want to praise God. And he will elevate you, guess what, in due time. You know I go on in, but I can't do it today. We want to get to our amazing guests because, you know, miracles happen every day. You know, just like the titles we have, Good Deeds. Our Good Deeds magazine, we say good deeds, you know, they happen every second, every minute of the day, all throughout the day, and miracles do the same. But this amazing young man that we actually have, I mean, we're going to love his voice because he's a long life resident of upstate New York. So, you know, I love New York because they love Southern Bells. But the thing about it is he's an award-winning author, inspirational speaker. But he has a miracle, oh, my God, that God has really have done in his life. And I'm not going to spill the beans because I love when people tell their own story. So we want to welcome none other than Jim Bay here to Good Deeds. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me, Dr. Sunday. It's been wonderful.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm excited. I can't stay still. But Jim, please tell us, you know, just your voice just makes us exciting about living life. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and the amazing things that has gone on in your life and that's going on in your life as we speak.
Well, sure. I'll just go back real quick. Back in a couple, you know, of course, a bunch of things were, you know, they would say tragedy. I've had two kids pass away. My one son in 2000, my other son in 2006, and people ask, how'd you get through it? And you don't really ever get through it, but you also still, you know, give it up to God and keep faith. And what helped, you know, me and my ex-wife, you know, when you have other kids that you have to still take care of and to help them along the way, it kind of gets you busy again, you know? So anyway, and I bring up my kids because they're in the book too that passed away. All the kids are in, but, and then so that was 2000, and in 2006, my other son died. My first son was 1 pound 4 ounces, 10 days, and he passed away. And then my other son was 18 and died of kidney disease. And then, so I was going along, you know, and you know, we, you know, financially we struggled because my one son with the kidney disease, it was quite a burden on the whole family and all that, you know, but you do what you got to do with your kids and your family. So that wasn't, you know, so anyway, and so I was going along and then in 2009, November 15th, I was actually, I used to, my author's name is Jim Bubba Bay, and Bubba, because that's who I am, that's part of who I am. And the other reason why is the book would have been too heavy if there wasn't some, you know, Bubba stories in there. So there's some Bubba stories in there, and they, you know, and people thank me for writing them because people wouldn't get through the book if it was just all tragedy. And even though God's great, still people read and they, you know, can't believe, oh, 2 kids died and all that. So anyway, it brings their emotions up and down, which as an author that's what you want. So that's great. But anyway, so in 2009, November 15th, I normally don't walk around the house. I had moved in to rent from my brother because me and my ex-wife, we split up, and I normally don't walk around here, and it was dark out, and so I just didn't feel well, and I just wanted to go for a little walk at the end of the night, you know, during the night before I went to bed. So I went out for a walk. Needless to say, I normally don't go past my house because it's a dead-end road, but I ended up going past my house because there was some drunken people on the road out by the main road, and I didn't want to interact with them, and I wasn't feeling still well, so I went past my house, down the road a little bit, turned around, felt good, you know, felt better, and so I started heading home, and I saw car lights off a hill. Didn't see the car lights, you know how they shine off a hill, and so when I walk at night, I usually get off the side of the road and stop, so that, you know, everybody has reaction time, you know, and I could step a little further in the woods if I have to, or off the side of the road. And that was my plan. And then the next thing you know, I did that. And the next thing I know, I stumbled forward. And the next thing I know, I was flying through the air, free falling. Oh, wow. So I ended up, I fell 14 feet head first into a culvert. And, you know, I landed on my head. And so, of course, I knew I was in serious trouble. But I didn't know all the main damage until after I got out of a coma. But basically, I ended up fracturing my skull, brain bleed, concussion, traumatic brain injury. I broke my left scapula. I broke 11 ribs, 7 on the left, 4 on the right. And the amazing thing is my whole right side of my body never hit the ground, and 4 ribs broke over there. And then I broke C7 2 ways, and I broke T1 to T12. I broke 9 of those, and I broke 2 of those 2 ways. So I broke 23 bones with 26 fractures, and blood in the lungs, bruised lungs, and everything. And I don't know how long I was out, but I was unconscious in the culvert. Then I landed on rock head first, and then I woke up, and basically to not take too long, I yelled for help. I did have enough where the way my brain was, it was scrambled, but I thought about my cell phone, but realized I didn't have it, and so I didn't bother looking for it because it would just waste energy. And then it's really true for me. I don't know everybody. I only know what happened to me as far as like almost dying. But my life did go in front of me. And I started to have mixed emotions because my kids are pound 4 ounces, lived 10 days, and my other son was 18. If you believe in heaven, where do you think they would be, right? And so I thought I did enough to go to heaven. Even though I wasn't the best practicing Christian and all that stuff, I still thought I did okay in life to go there, and then, but I still had kids here and family here, So anyway, that's what, so I called for help down there, and, obviously no one came. It was nighttime. And then I thought about my ex-wife. She found our oldest, one that passed away with kidney disease. She found him dead in his apartment after 3 or 4 days. So you can imagine what she saw. So that made me think to get to the road, or try to get to where I came from. It took me a little while to figure that out, and so I decided I would try to get to where I came from. But I actually was going to die because I had no hope. You can only imagine the amount of pain I was in. I had 4.5-inch crack in my head and bleeding like crazy, and so that was my hope to get to the, to get to the road. I kind of finally remembered, hey, that's where I came from, and thankfully there was a field on my left, or kind of one side, and then there was this big wall on my right, so it helped me figure out where I came from, because how am I going to get hurt in a field, So anyway, I was able to. I didn't know if I was paralyzed or not yet, and thank to God I wasn't, and I was able to. I started to crawl, which was very painful, and then I climbed the hill all by myself with all that fractures, and a bunch of healthy people have gone down in the hole and climbed up the way I went, and they have trouble getting out of there, let alone all that damage. So I was going to the road to die, and I know it sounds crazy, but there's a point when you're hurt that bad that, you can believe in God all you want and all that stuff, but there's no one happening, nothing's happening, and so that's what I did. I went to the road to die, and I actually made it out of the culvert and climbed the hill, and I got to this log. And the log's real important to the story, but I got to this log, and everybody at nighttime would know. You would know you're laying on a log in the dark. Everybody would know it's a log, but can you describe it, Can you describe it? So I was laying on a log, and I was content on dying. Of course, I was crying and all that. Don't get me, I was crying, upset, and blood mixed. Everything was crazy. It was crazy, but I actually became content on dying. I actually decided, okay, this is it, and so I closed my eyes on the log because I couldn't go any further. I was in so much pain from just doing what I did, and of course, like I said, I didn't know what I actually did until after the hospital. They X-ray you, but beforehand, you're in so much pain. So I was laying on the log, and I just closed my eyes, and I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I always thought, like in the TV shows, if you die with your eyes open, people will walk up and your eyes will be open. I didn't know. You know what? I've never almost died before, but so I ended up, closing my eyes, and and then the most amazing thing happened after that. So I was content in dying, and when we wrote the book, because my friend Mickey Ruzick wrote it with me. He lives in Bangkok, Thailand, so we wrote it halfway across the road, most of it. So that was cool. And anyway, we were getting to the point. He's like, "Well, what happened next?" And it was hard to describe. And then I finally remembered, and it happens to everybody. We all are, as kids, we all oversleep, and then your parents turn your light on, and there's like this big bright light on the outside of your eyelids, and you open them up. So that's what happened to me. I was laying there in this log, and all of a sudden my eyes felt like they were, I had to open them up, and the most amazing thing, was coming at me. It was, ended up being God. And my kids were there who passed away, and as you go along the journey, I already kind of knew this stuff, but sometimes it's harder to put things in words, and then as you go along your journey, you realize. But the reason why, because people say you can't see God, and the why I claim I met God was because the figure to me said my son Jesus, so that's why. But then I've taught the people, like people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, the Bible says you can't see God." And I'm like, well, I don't know. That's all that was told to me. And how do I not know it was Jesus' bodies with God speaking through it? You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So that could have been the way. But he said, my son Jesus to me. And then the other reason because my spirituality's blown up since this. I never knew about like shaman and and Reiki and all that spirituality stuff too. I never knew about any of that stuff, and I didn't and I was to go back a little bit. My Christian life was I didn't know the Bible. There's a reason not. It's in the book. I leave it, I'll leave it there, and people want to, but there's a reason why I didn't know the Bible, and I was a Christian. I went to church on Christmas and Easter. And other than that, I didn't go to church, But I was a believer, I believed in, and I believed in all these encounters, all these things, But that's where I was. But if an orb, because I did other people like, oh, did an orb come or a light? If an orb, or even a light, people say they see the light. I would have never moved anywhere. I would have never moved because I would have had no understanding what was happening. So for me, it had to come as a figure. And then my kids, it's kind of, but one of their destinies was they died. Well, they were going to meet me the night I fell, and like I said, my one son was 10 days old. I mean, if you believe in heaven, where would he be? He didn't even, he went from one hospital to the other hospital and never left, and then my other son's 18, and chances are he, didn't do enough sinning not to go into heaven. So where would they be if you believe in heaven? So I was doing another book event, and like I said, sometimes you as you know, as you probably for yourself and everybody that's out there, you go along your journey, and sometimes you can put it words, but you totally can't put it words. And as you go along, then you can put it words more, So I was at an event. And they asked me about my kids, and this one lady lost her son recently, and actually she read the book, and she said she thought she never could read a book with death, having kids die in the book, and she said my book actually helped her, which a lot of people with dying kids and death have said my book also helps them with that. And anyway, she was like, well, and then it dawned on me, like they were there to reiterate what was happening to me, like this was from heaven. I mean, when it first happened, I thought, I of course I didn't know it was God right away. I thought I was like, wow, this is how you go to heaven, At first I was like, okay, I'm going to heaven, So anyway, one of the keys to the story though, or to the, testimony and all that stuff is why God, and we had our conversation and all that, and it's in part of it, it's in the book, some of it and all that. And one of the, but why he was there, it was so bright and beautiful that I was able to, although my neck was broken, I was able to see, those trees that have like no bark and no branches, and they're like telephone poles, kind of hard on the outside, soft on the inside, So anyway, I was able to see what I was laying on, like I was able to like see the log and kind of describe it. So after, I don't want to, after God left, and I tell what God did for me is, one, he told me to tell my story, to tell what happened that night. I got things to do for him, and believe me, he's blown up my life. It's just like crazy. But the Holy, like I never used to have intuition and like gut feelings. That's the Holy Spirit now. I never had that. Never. I didn't really have it. I wasn't that type of person, and now it's constant. But anyway, why God was there, and I was able to see this log I was on, but while he was there, what he did for me, he didn't heal me, he didn't take my pain away. I mean, I was in awe when he was there, so it felt like my pain was gone. But what he did for me was, I compare it to, those military jet planes, and then they're about to run out of gas, and a big bomber comes in and hooks up to them and fills them up in the middle of the air. You know, well, that's what God did for me. He hooked his hose up to me. You know, not literally, but he hooked his hose up to me, and he filled me back with faith and hope and all that. You know, and determination, and of course, while he was there, he never told me what to do next. So after he goes and my kids, and it gets all dark again, and the key to one of the keys is it was 7:30 at night on and there's no traffic, there's no street lights. I was hurt so bad they were going to fly me in a helicopter, but they couldn't because it was too foggy. So there's no moonlight. Obviously, there's no sunlight. There's no street lights, and the closest house is hundreds of feet away, and they have there was no outside lights on. So there's only one light and there's no car because I was like, by the time I got to this log by the road, I was only 2, 3, 4 feet off the road. You would have seen me, a big bloody mess. So there was no car light. So while God was there, I was able to see this log. So after he left, I was able to turn a little bit, and I saw this light. I know it's symbolic, but it's really true. I saw this little light inside this house. And I said, that's where I got to go. Now, it even gets more amazing because I knew if I crawled there, I would be dead because I would have never made it in time. But I also didn't know if I could walk. But I ended up walking to this house 200-something feet down the road with all these broken bones and blood. And I shuffled my feet more like walking. But it took me 2 times to do it. First time I fell back down. Second time I was able to do it. And another amazing thing how great God is, the house, which ended up being my neighbor's house, which I've never talked to before, I always just waved. We always did the neighborly wave because I just, I moved in not too long ago. I ended up, she wasn't even home when I fell. She was actually she was coming home from New Jersey, and it's like a 4-hour, 5-hour ride, and all she had to do was stop at a bathroom one more time, and I would have been dead on her lawn, So, I mean, it's amazing. Why I'm hurting in the culvert, God makes it where she comes home, And so I was able to, so I got up and walked, which when I got out of a coma, everybody in the hospital thought I crawled. And when they heard I walked, they could not believe that I actually walked with all that damage. But I ended up walking to the woman's house and knocking on the door. And, and then to fast forward, important with the log and God, all these testimonies to me always have okay, that's cool. And then they always have like a catch or something that like, okay, wait a minute, how did that, you know what I mean? They always got a catch where like, okay, it's kind of hard to doubt. So while I was in a coma, my brother John and his wife Mary Ann, they found out through my niece Genesis about Care and Bridge. It's a website where you can put a page up with sick people, hurt people, and then people go on there with their email, and then you can update it and send it back. Anyway, they made a page for me, and of course, all these, hundred something messages, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, God must have done something, God, and all that." But they also took pictures of where I fell. So when I was in rehab, they took me to read the messages. They asked me if I was ready. I was like, well, I'm ready as I'll ever be. So I ended up, reading the messages. And my neighbor, who I knocked on her door, wrote a God message, and she didn't know I met God. She wrote one like, God must have put you on my door, and he literally did, And so anyway, right after that, my brother says, you want to see where you fell? And I was like, well, yeah, okay. And he shows me the picture. And the first picture he shows me is the log I described straight out of a coma that I met God at. To a T.
Wow.
And I was already 99%. I was already pretty positive that all happened for me. But when I described the log, and my family, people who went and saw, that morning, the next morning or whatever, they said there was a lot of blood at this log, and I had to stop at this log. I must have rested or did something. Of course, they didn't know that what really happened. But, so I described this log straight out of a coma to a T, And it was dark out other than, so how would you describe it? So that's, so to me, that's what I do. And so anyway, I wrote the book because God told me and I was telling people one at a time. I could just go on the rest of my life telling people one at a time. I didn't care, and I never brought it up. I'm sure the same thing with you, right? You never bring it up. I never brought the accident up. I never said nothing. It's like God's like, oh, that guy over there, he needs to talk to Jim. Boy, I'm gonna make him about run at it because we have a family gas station too. I'm gonna make him run low on gas, and he's never been in that station, but I'm gonna make him pull in there. Because I have one guy. It's in the book. A real quick story. It's but basically like stuff that would happen is this guy came in because I also he came in to get gas and I had been working the station that time, and he come in and he complained about his life, and then he said oh my neck hurts and it really bothered me today, and I'm like, oh, I said, oh yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I know all I said was I understand. I didn't say I broke my neck. Because I broke C7 two ways. I never said anything. I just said I understand. So I let him go. And, because like sometimes you work at a gas station like being a bartender. People come in and just rant and rave, and you just let them go. And I was just listening. I was listening and stuff like that. And he went on his way, and he talked 10 minutes to me. And I've never met him before. And he comes and pays and keeps talking. And he gets to the door, and then he turns around and he says, oh, by the way, how do you know what I'm feeling about my neck? Of course, there's the opening, and I have a little minute. I have a quick version, real quick, like it takes a minute, not to take people's time up. And of course, some people go on their way, and he happened to turn around and say, "Well, you got to elaborate that more," So he ended up staying, for a while. And when he left, he decided things weren't that bad. That compared to me, he was doing pretty good, So, and then he. And then he actually lost the receipt. I went out soon after, found the receipt on the ground. I picked it up and threw it away to keep the place clean. And he came back like 15 minutes later, realizing I guess it's one of he uses his money, he gets reimbursed or something. Anyway, he came back, he needed a receipt, and he just told me how much I changed his life already just in that meeting. And he's never been in the station, and something told him to pull in.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
That kind of yeah.
I'm just so amazed and amazed. Let me ask you this, though, because your story is so powerful, and, of course, we will let the listening audience know how to obtain your publication and to continue to support you. But when we talked in the green room, it really amazed me, and I want you to kind of chime on that just briefly. Since your experience, and we see it, we hear it in your voice, but what has this done for you and your family in regards of your life? I mean, it's just amazing. I can hear the joy, the peace, and the laughter, but the experience you went through, can you say that totally saved your life? Are you just a whole nother person? Chime on that a little bit, because I think that's what people need to realize. When you have that divine experience, it does change your whole life.
Oh, my life is just blown up. I mean, the one thing I want to say, which you got, I mean, in some ways, just because you have a divine intervention, because people talk to everybody, and one thing I want to just say real quick, when we got done with the book, it was like the 8th draft or whatever. We said, well, what's different in your book? Our book, what's different that you would that people would want to read it? And then we realized, because I believe all those and then we realized how many people have 2 kids pass away, and then themselves have all these broken stuff, and pretty much near death as near death could be, but didn't die, but had it, just met God and came back to talk about it all in a decade. So that's what, but in the process of all this is what it's done for me is just blowing up my spiritual Christian life. I still don't really, I know about the Bible, and I got names going on now because of my brain injury. Although I was lucky I'm one of the lucky ones. When I fell and hit my head, I tell doctors, it's the only way I could compare it. Like I was pretty intelligent when I fell. So I was up the ladder, higher up the ladder. I wasn't a genius and like that. I just was pretty intelligent. So I fell down the ladder 3 or 4 rungs, but I landed where I could function pretty decent. I have memory loss, and it's hard to read stuff, and I got to read pages, so I haven't really read, but I gather stuff. But as far as, but on the other hand, like all these stories, like we're talking in the green room, all these stories they have, there's always like a give and take, like someone turns into a great painter and they never were before. Well, the gift I got, of course, you always give something. I gave chronic pain in exchange for sociability, I call it, because it's insane. Before I fell and hit my head, I wasn't shy, and I don't know if I was technically introvert. I was kind of like in between that, kind of like if I knew you, I'd talk your ear off. I mean, as soon as I knew you, I'd talk. But for any strangers or anything like that, even phone, I would not call on the phone to people. I would not do that. Or I would have my wife do it. And, when I was growing up, my parents, my mom did it for me, or my brother. Matter of fact, I got a cute story. Back in the day, I'm going to date myself, but I used to be in Cub Scouts, and we used to sell this called this Tom Watt kit. You open the box up, it's Christmas paper, fundraising thing. And I dragged my sister with me. She has nothing to do with the Cub Scouts. I dragged her with me, and she knocked on the door, and I would hide in the bushes. And then if she got an okay response, I would come out and I would go in, and then she would still do all the talking. That was me. I'm not going to lie. That was me. Since then, meeting God, of course, it's not about me no more. It's the message. And people, it's going to be the title of my next book, but I was with my friend of mine at a cafe, and I finally was able to put it in words. What I do is why I do. It's the message is bigger than me. That's why I do what I do now. It's not about me, and the book wouldn't be about me. I mean, it's about me only but the message is bigger than me. But I just blown up spiritually. I've learned about all different stuff. And I've also, but I'm outgoing. I talk to everybody and anybody about anything. I see somebody with an ice cream cone, I ask them what flavor it is, where they got it. I'm not nosy. I just talk. I just talk to everybody. When my kids are with me, I embarrass them. Matter of fact, that was in Walmart. We all know how big Walmarts are, right? We all know how big Walmarts are, right? And it was raining one day, right? And we got done, and we're about in the middle of the we're more on one side, about 3/4 of the way down on one side, and it was raining bad here, and we had been in the store for like a half hour, so our cart was nice and dry. Well, this little old lady comes in to go get the carts, and the guy had just wheeled them in, and literally we were halfway across Marna at Walmart, and I yell out, "Hey, lady!" And everybody's looking. My kids are starting to close their head. "I got a cart for you. Hold on, honey. It's all warmed up." Yelled halfway across just to give her this cart so she didn't have to use a wet cart. I mean, It's just insane. And then like doing these interviews and all that, like with you right now, and I've been on TV, cable TV and all that, and you could put 10 cameras in front of me, and it does not faze me. It's just amazing. Like I'm speaking at a school, Faith Christian Academy in Poughkeepsie here on Thursday, and I'm not nervous. I don't get nervous about anything. And the other thing, a lot of what I do, which I'm sure you do too, and people will get it, is I don't. It's God's, and I'm just Jim Bubba Bay. I'm just a normal guy. I'm nothing special about me. There's nothing special about me, and I'm just me. But I do God's. I serve Him in whatever way He needs, and I go wherever He tells me to go. But when I go to these events, I don't prepare a speech per se, because it is my life, and I just let God throw through me, and because it's happened so often, I let it go, because there is a lot in my book. There's death, there's dying, there's being hurt, there's God. But my books, but the one reason why I wrote the book the way I did is there's not a lot of scripture in there, because I don't know the Bible. There's one Bible quote in its beginning. The scripture is right in the beginning. It's like on the first page, and it kind of like fell in the pit. Well, I did fall, But the reason why is because I want people to know that God showed up for Jim Bubba Bay on this little dead road in Pine Plains, New York, which has one traffic light in the whole town, and this little country here, and he showed up for me, and God's for everybody. Whether you know the Bible, don't know the Bible, God's for non-believers. It's up to you if you want to. God, the one thing in everybody's life, which is kind of is part of my speech on Thursday, and it kind of God just gave it to me. I woke up the other morning, kind of like doing a sermon. It happens to me. I wake up and I start talking to myself, and I start talking these things, and I'm like, what am I going to share with the kids? And I've kind of had some ideas because they're like 6th to 8th grade or something like that. And I'm like, okay, you got to, you don't change things. You just got to curtail it to, your audience. And the
right.
one thing that, the main thing, and this is, I know, and some of this other people already know and they think of it all the time, but for me, it's, you can lose money. Money comes and goes, friends come and go, cars come and go, homes come and go, relationships come and go, clothes come and go. The only constant there is God's always there. It's the one constant in our life.
That's right.
That's
right. Wow, that is so amazing. Jim, you're just so lovable. Do us a favor, because time has gone by so quick here. Oh, my God, we have to have you back, but tell us how we can get your amazing publications and tell us how we can actually support you on social media. And if we have anything down this way that we actually need to be part of, which is so many things, please tell us how we can book you as well.
Yeah, my website's Jim Bubba Bay, and my author's name, and there's all ways to contact me on there. My Facebook is Jim Bubba Bay or Miracle on Hammertown Road. It's my pages, and then Jimmy Bay is my personal account, which I use them all, all in between. Instagram, it's Jim Bubba Bay. The book's available on, Jim Bubba Bay. It's available on Amazon, available on Barnes & Noble. It's available as the ebooks, Nook and Kindle, and it's actually available as an Audible book, which there's a whole nother amazing story for another show. It's going to be part of my second book, but just the money I spent on Audible was paid back in spades, and I haven't been paid, but just this one thing that happened, it's just amazing. It was all it paid for just spiritually in my gut, my soul, my heart. It was just amazing thing that happened, all because of this Audible book, and it involved a couple blind ladies, So
wow.
yeah,
Amen.
so
wow.
and and they can
but we're gonna
contact
have to
me.
get you back on here, because you have an amazing story, life, and just journey that we will get you back on very soon. But we just thank you so much for first being in your purpose, and again being a guest here with us on Good Deeds.
Yeah, and also I'm an inspirational speaker too when I go to events and speak and all that, and I do God's work. So anyway, I forgot to throw that out there. So yeah, I love doing this stuff, and it's all for God, and I'll come back whenever you want me, or wherever you want me to go, I go. So thanks for having me.
All right, well, thank you so much. Yes. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pumped up. Jim Bubba Bay, you're gonna have to come. His book amazing. I mean, I'm telling you firsthand. And award winning. He didn't get a chance to say that, but has won many awards. But the great thing, he's so humble. He wasn't gonna say it, but God has the validation. God has really shined on him. And the thing that he said that I love so, that God actually is there for you as well. Woo! I'm so excited. But anyway, the replay will be up very shortly that you can share it. Of course, download it on iTunes. It'll be on YouTube, our website, and all the social media. And if you want to be a guest here with us on Good Deeds, you can contact us, Good Deeds Radio, on our TV show, our magazine if you want to be a subscriber. If you want to advertise or have the sponsorship packages, we actually have that as well. If you want your own radio show, we actually are coaching people with that, and we also give you an opportunity to have a slot on the Good Deeds Media Network. What time works for you, because you got to make sure we stay committed with that, right? Commitment is important because the audience love to hear from you. And also, we have a publishing company and a nonprofit organization. All of our information is at reneesunday.com. Again, that is Renee, RENEE, Sunday, SUNDAY.com. What we want you to know is you do have a calling. You do have a reason you were born. You know what I'm about to say. You're not a mistake. You got to do the three things. You got to believe, you got to trust, and guess what? You got to walk that thing out, right? And you got to don't stop. You have to get it. And you have to get your purpose and get your purpose now. You know, this is Good Deeds, and I'm Dr. Renee Sunday. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.